Are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. And we are joining you for a special Locked On Astros trade deadline special. Brett's going to be joining us in and out. He has to take his son to basketball practice, but we wanted to be here just in case something happened. Is there going to be another trade? What's going on? And we're going to talk about this and more on this special edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
Okay, let's try it again. We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. Find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in yesterday. It was, we did like 5 shows in 24 hours, and we had a lot of views on YouTube. So keep on subscribing. We're all the way above. We're getting close to 4.2K on YouTube. Keep on subscribing to us. Keep on making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast. Keep on checking out the Locked On Astros podcast. So here we are. The Astros have already made 3 trades. Are they going to make another trade? Who knows? I know that late last night, Ken Rosenthal made the notion that the Astros are still looking for a center fielder. And I think that I have one person I think that the Astros should be looking at. The question is, do they have enough prospects to go out there and make that trade without giving up the future? And so this is not going to be your typical Locked On Astros podcast. This is going to be more of an interactive. Ask me questions. Let's talk about the trades. And what do you think about that? So this is not going to be your traditional Locked On Astros podcast. And thank you, Muhammad. He says, hit that like button, guys. So go ahead and go YouTube. Subscribe to us and go and give us a like while you're there. So I know Gunsmoke says no more trades. I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that way, but at some point, even after that first trade, the Trey Mancini trade, I think that Jim Crane said that there's several more trades that they would like to make. So will they actually make several more trades? I know that Dusty Baker was on Matt Thomas' show today on Sports Talk 790. And he was asked about Kyle Tucker. Could you see Kyle Tucker playing center field? That way Trey Mancini can possibly play left field. And that way you can maybe maneuver a little bit more in case you don't get a center fielder. And Dusty Baker said, no, I don't really want Kyle Tucker in center field. It's a lot of work to play center field. I'd rather go out there and trade for a center fielder. And he used those words, and he actually said something else. He said, but I think I'm going to be trumped on that. So I think that he possibly wants to go out and get another center fielder, but maybe James Click is saying, I don't know if we can. So there's also been a lot of talk by Dusty Baker about how much time Christian Vasquez is going to have. And if you look at everything that's going on, Martin Maldonado has been the everyday catcher for the Houston Astros. Corey Lee has had a few playing time. We also have an update about Jason Castro. Jason Castro will probably not be back this season. I know Brett's been saying that, oh yeah, Eric, he's not going to be back this season. So I know that there's been some news about that, and I'll tell you exactly why the Astros are just now announcing that in a little bit as well. But I know yesterday that Dusty Baker said that he feels like that Martin Maldonado is the field general, the guy who kind of directs the pitching staff, and he wants to see what Christian Vasquez can do. And so I know that before today's game that Christian Vasquez was told by Dusty Baker that he's going to be starting tomorrow's game. It is a day game after a night game. So that makes a little bit of sense. So I think that we'll see how much Dusty Baker likes Vasquez. But at the end of the day, James Click did not make this trade away 2 good prospects for a pure backup catcher. And so I think there's some miscommunication there between James Click and Dusty Baker. And I think they're going to have to work it out. And Matt Thomas was like, so do you and Click text? Are y'all texting buddies or something like that? And he said, no. I just stay down there. And if Click has something to say to me, he comes to me. That's definitely an old school type manager. He's like, no, the GMs could come to me. I don't come to him. So I know that Dusty Baker has been in on some of these conversations, and he probably pushed for that left-handed reliever, and the Astros probably just wanted to get what they could for Odorizzi. They get out of the deal for next year. They also have the way to get out of, if let's say that that Will Smith doesn't pitch good this year. For the rest of the year, they do have a team option to get out of it for $1 million for next year. That way they can save $13 million for next year. So I think all the three trades that James Click has made so far have worked out. So let's go ahead, and I want to see some of your reactions. So guys, for those of y'all listening, please ask your questions. Let's make some comments about this. This is not your typical Locked On Astros podcast. We are waiting till the trade deadline. And also, if something happens, let me know, because I'm going to be monitoring the chat and everything. But also, breaking news, the Orioles are adding Brett Phillips, according to a source. I thought that would be a good idea for the Astros to maybe go out and get Brett Phillips again. That's one name I was going to bring up, but according, he's not going. That's not going to be an option. Joey Gallo is going to save the Dodgers season. He was traded from the Yankees to the Dodgers today, and that's a good bat for them to have off their bench. I don't think they're expecting the world for him, but maybe a change of scenery would be good for Joey Gallo. So we'll see what's going on with that situation. But Joey Gallo and the Yankees was probably not a good fit in the first place. But let's go ahead and get with this. So I know that Jay through 91 asked, why is Trey Mancini not in the lineup today, Dusty? I believe that you have to understand that his life has just changed. He was just traded from the Baltimore Orioles, and he had to fly in. He probably just got in this morning, and he had the press conference. And so they probably wanted him a day to get acclimated. And the Astros have players on this team that can kind of cover for him for a day. He was taking some ground balls at first base. He was doing some drills with Yuli Gurriel. So he is doing some stuff that he's supposed to be doing. But I think that Dusty Baker just didn't want to get him in the lineup on the first day after he was traded. So I think that's why he's not in the lineup. At first, I was like, wait, what's going on here? You trade for a guy, and then he's not even in there. So I think that's what the situation was. So I wouldn't read too much into this. This isn't a Dusty Baker versus James Click or Jeff Luna or versus AJ Hinch on who they want to play and everything. So I think that's the situation there. But I know that in his press conference today, that Trey Mancini said that with the dimensions of left field, he feels like he will be a much better baseball player on both sides, including playing left field and hitting. So he said that the reason why he didn't play a lot of left field in Baltimore is because they moved the walls back and they raised it up a little bit. So it was a little bit harder to cover all that ground in left field. And so that's why the Orioles they played him more at first base and DH this year. So I think that if he's able to cover ground in left field, you could see him playing a lot more left field. And if Yuli continues to play as well as he's been playing, batting second as he has in the past 3 to 4 weeks, then maybe that would be a good addition to his lineup. So Mancini said it was kind of weird coming to a new city, but he said this is the first time that he's been with a winning organization at this point of the season. So he's excited to do this. And he said the uniform was kind of weird, but at least it has some orange in it. And he feels that more than anything, I'm excited to be here and be part of the team. Wherever they need me, I'm going to be there. It's a little strange when you put a new jersey on, but we still got some orange. And he said it's like the first day of school all over again. So I think Mancini's going to fit in well, and he's going to wear number 26. Okay, so Muhammad asks, will he play left field, the outfield now? Left field? Yes, I think he's going to play some left field. I think we'll see him play some first base. He may DH a little bit because Aledmys Diaz has been playing some hot baseball recently. JJ Majevic was sent down, as well as Taylor Jones, who was brought up because Alex Bregman was put on paternity list, but now Alex Bregman is back, and apparently Reagan Bregman said, "Okay, you came, you saw your son be born, so go ahead and go back and get some hits for us." So Alex Bregman's back and in the lineup. So that wasn't much of paternity leave for Bregman, but with a guy like Bregman, I'm not surprised there. So. Mabala says Myers is not the answer in center field. So yes, some people may not be high on him, but let's just look at this. So let's say that Yuli plays decent at first base. You put Mancini in left field. That put Chas McCormick in center field. And then you have Jake Myers play regularly or somewhat regularly in center field as well. That could be your stopgap until somebody else presents themselves. Maybe Pedro Leon gets hot at AAA and they call him up late in the season, or somebody else kind of stands out in the minor leagues and he gets to call up. So the Astros are possibly looking at another option, but here we are with 19 minutes left at the trade deadline. So I don't know if they are going to do it. If y'all want to know who I think the Astros would do if they go out and make the trade, let me see if anybody said it. I think it's going to be Ian Happ. Ian Happ fits in what the Astros need. He's a guy who could play center field. I don't think he's played a lot of center field this year, but he has played center field in the past, and he's got a year of team control. The question is, how much would it cost? Because he is not a rental. You're going to have to pay a little bit more for a rental. Some people have said, well, he's not that much better than Chas McCormick. He is better than Chas McCormick. He's batting .279. His OPS is .796. He has an OPS plus of 123. So, and he's got 100 hits on the season. His WAR is 2.9, and he's plays great defense. And so this is a guy that was a former top prospect with the Cubs, and I think that last year he had 25 home runs with 66 RBIs. Granted, he did bat .226 last year, but this year he seems to be showing a better eye at the plate, batting .276. His OPS is up about 30-something points, but it was down from 2020 at .866. So he is a good player overall. So I think that he would be a good fit for the Astros. So the question is, how much would you have to pay for him? And that's what the Astros are having to think about. They're having to think about the future and how much they would have to give up now to go for the World Series. And yes, I already talked about Jim Collier says no to Tucker in center field. And that's quite obvious. I think if Dusty Baker felt comfortable with him being in center field, I think we would have already seen that happen this year. So I don't think that's an option. I think that that center field is a different ball game. So I think that that's not an option. So looking at the other options out there, you have Ian Happ, you have Michael Taylor, who's played with Dusty Baker before. You also have Garcia with the Rangers, and there's a few other names out there. Brian Reynolds, he's already been told, like the Pirates have already told other teams, absolutely not. And with a team like him, with a player like Brian Reynolds, that deal has to get done ahead of time because that's going to be a major deal. And like I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that it was more likely that the Astros could get Juan Soto than it is Brian Reynolds, because the Pirates just covet him so much, and he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. So it's just a lot harder when they want to keep that player versus the Nationals, who are just like, yeah, we want to rebuild, we want to get rid of him. And so so I think that Hap would be a good deal. His contract, he's got one more year, and his contract is 6.85 this year, and I believe that he's arbitration eligible next year. So he is arbitration eligible next year. So it just depends on what the panel decides for his salary for next year, and then he'll be a free agent in 2024. So I'm sure the Astros, if they trade for him, they could probably work out a deal to maybe make an extension for him and something like this. So, but looking at just what's going on here, a lot of people in the chat want to talk about the Juan Soto trade. That was a lot to kind of give up, but they got Juan Soto and Josh Bell. That was a haul, but at the same time, they didn't really have to give up a lot of major league talent. I know they gave up Mackenzie Gore. They also tried to give up Eric Hosmer, but Eric Hosmer was somebody that I think the Padres have been trying to give up a while because of just how much money he made in salary, stuff like that. So they're just trying to get underneath that luxury tax threshold. So looks like Brett's joining in. So we'll see if his audio is working pretty good. But I think the Padres and the Nationals were able to work out a pretty good deal there for both sides. So, Brett, are you here?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Good deal. So a couple things I know there's been a lot of talk about Brian Reynolds, and I heard you discussing him, saying, why the Pirates wouldn't want him. I was doing some research and comparing like Chas McCormick to Brian Reynolds, and Chas McCormick right now, in basically defensive WAR in the categories you look at center fielders, is like 45th, or no, is like 54. Brian Reynolds is a 50. His WRC plus is a 45. So he's almost the exact same player Brian Reynolds is. And so I really think if the Astros are smart about it, they're going to put Chas McCormick as their primary center fielder. To me, he's outperformed Myers. Myers looks lost in the outfield. His he's not hitting. McCormick with consistent at bats. If you have Tucker to his left, there in right field, and Mancini to his right in left field, and then you have, Yordan Alvarez DHing, I think that is a recipe for success. I'm really surprised the Astros haven't done anything, and with this only being like 13 minutes to go, apparently there's a lot of stuff that is just getting log jammed. But what a crazy day for the trade deadline. You have probably the largest trade in like MLB history happening live on TV. You've got a player that almost blocked the largest trade, but that player, Eric Hosmer, is going to be with the Red Sox. So we're going to see Eric Hosmer in a Red Sox uniform. I was surprised they also got Drury, because I know that was a guy people had talked about maybe the Astros going after. The Twins, dude, the Twins are for real. They have added some strong pieces from Baltimore and from the Reds. And so, I mean, this is going to be a fun playoff stretch, Eric. I think we just witnessed, one of the more fun trade deadlines, because you and I were talking. This is kind of dead this year, and it got really active really quick.
Yes, somebody in the chat asked if Ian Happ is a switch hitter, and he is. He throws right-handed, and yes, so he would be a good acquisition. But at the same time, how much are you willing to give up? They gave up a lot to get Christian Vasquez. I know that they were the 28th and 29th Astros ranked prospects and everything, but still, they were showing a lot of power in the minor leagues this year, and so it was a lot. But you got to get a lot, and to hear Dusty Baker kind of be so wishy-washy about, well, I think Martin Maldonado is still going to start, but we'll see. I think it's all going to work itself out. But what's good to hear is that they are friends, Martin Maldonado and Christian Vasquez. They've actually from Venezuela, and they're both from the same country. And actually, Martin Maldonado picked him up today, brought him to the ballpark, and actually gave him a tour around. And
Right. Well, I think Martinez from Puerto Rico,
Puerto
and
Rico. That's what I meant to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I was talking to the guys who do the MLB trade values,
Mm-hmm.
website. I was actually talking to the guy that created it in his Spaces today. It was really cool, and I told him that we had been using his data for the show, and I asked him about Vasquez and what he thought about that, and kind of what you've been talking about, and what I think we hit on, where Martin's going to give him a ride. Him and Maldonado know each other, and they're veteran catchers. It's not like they're rookies with egos. They're going to do what they need to do to help, win a World Series. But I don't know if you saw it, but Mark Berman filmed Vasquez coming out of the dugout in his Astros gear going onto the field. I don't know. You may have mentioned it, and I
Yeah.
may have missed it,
No.
but it was like I kind of felt bad. I was like, oh man, this is kind of sad watching this. And the guys were like, what's going on? And he's like looking at his shirt, and there's gonna be some awkwardness. There's gonna be some getting used to. But if there's any clubhouse a player can meld into easily, it's the Houston Astros organization.
Yeah, definitely. And apparently, the Phillies are about to trade for Noah Syndergaard. And I saw in the chat that somebody said that Brandon Marsh is about to be traded from the Angels. So since
Oh yeah. Okay, Marsh is gone. Marsh is already a Phillies.
oh
Yeah,
he
they
is
already
okay.
have a Phillies hat on him on MLB Network. Yeah, I was going to tease our friend Alex that he had been traded to Philadelphia
He
because
does
he
look
looks
just like
like
him.
him.
Yeah.
And so Noah Syndergaard, I think, was originally their target, and then they got Marsh and they came off of Syndergaard. So apparently they've reignited those talks. But what's weird is now you've got Ohtani, you've got the news of Trout in his back. Like, I mean, the West Coast is in upheaval. The Padres are going all in, and more than the Dodgers did last year. Eric, I'm going to say this: if the Padres don't win the World Series, that's kind of a failure, I think. You just gave away your top prospects for this haul, but their lineup, when Tatis gets back in September, I believe, that's going to be a formidable opponent. And they may dethrone guys like the Dodgers, like the Braves, or the Mets, because the Mets are still my favorite to make it out of the National League, but I don't know if I have much confidence in that anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Brett, can you go ahead and exit and come back? You're getting a little staticky there.
Yeah.
But all right. So I know there's some people in chat saying that Hap is coming to Houston, but I'm not going to confirm that till I see the big boys say that. But I think Hap would be a good fit for Houston, and I know that they're interested in Hap. I think that he would be a perfect fit. But at the same time, I think James Click is just kind of looking at, do they really need him? All that. So we'll see what happens. There's only 7 minutes left, and remember, the Zach Greinke trade happened at the last minute, and then you had the Justin Verlander trade happen at the last minute, and there's so many trades happen at the last minute. So we'll see what happens. But we got 7 minutes left to the deadline. So I'm not gonna get all excited about anything until I see it by the big boys. That's all I'm saying. So. Um, Jeff Passan, any of those other guys, that's who I'm going to wait to see it from. But Mark Berman called the Odorizzi trade yesterday, and Odorizzi had a lot of good things to say about the Astros. He said, I enjoyed my time. I had my ups. I had my downs. I was good. I was bad. But at least my last start was good. And so he had a lot more to say, but we'll save that for kind of the podcast later on. But I know that Mancini, before you came on, you said you were listening, but before you came on, Mancini seemed to say that he was comfortable playing left field at Minute Maid Park.
Yeah.
And so how do you see the Astros kind of distributing playing time if there's no more trades at this point?
Well, it is a little bit of two utility utility guy. 11 is Diaz, Dubon. With the news on 60-day IL, which I'm going to do that. Castro's not going to play. He's going to retire. Probably going to put Brantley. I'm assuming because he has. They said they were going to announce that, and if that changes, that chain of prediction, I'm just saying that's. And if that's the case, then I think what you have to do is you have left field and play him at DH, put him in, let Yuli get a rest, like whatever you got to do, maximize this lineup, get him used to it. I think he'll succeed.
Okay. Your signal's a little bad. Can you try it again? But anyway, so we'll ask Brett to repeat what he just said. But Brett wanted me to ask before he came on, what if you had to get, if this was it, what would be your grade for the Astros at this trade deadline? We have 332 people in this chat. What would you give the Astros, James Click, on how he's upgraded as a whole? I guess we can talk at each position, whatever you want. So let's go ahead and put that in chat and whatever you think. So I know that everybody's asking Brett to reload that. He's at a kind of remote location. So the last pineapple says A-. Oh, we got a lot of people responding. Mohammed says B. Eric Martinez says B+. All right. Then we have A+, and then A-. Jeremy Richard has a C+. Jeremy, go ahead and put in the chat why you think it's a C+. Then Shaka Genghis Khan put C-. Go ahead and put in why you put that there. So I guess some people are saying no center fielder because that's why you're giving them so low grade. So a lot of people are saying B overall. I really, honestly, if you're looking, and somebody said this, real purple gold Minnesota Vikings. I don't like your football team, but he put up a good point here. B+ without giving any grade prospects. We haven't had to trade Hunter Brown. We haven't had to trade Pedro Leon, Corey Lee, any of the big guys. So yes, we've had to make some big trades, but I think that we've still been able to keep some of the core prospects for the future. So who knows what happens in the next 3 minutes, next 10 minutes, because we know what happens there. So going back to something while we wait, Jason Castro apparently had meniscus surgery on his knee. And so he's going to be out for the rest of the year. He actually had the surgery last week. And so they did not tell anybody about this. And the reason why I think they didn't tell anybody is they didn't want anybody to say, well, you're desperate for a catcher because Jason Castro is out for the year. So we want more prospects in exchange for Christian Vasquez or Wilson Contreras. And isn't it weird that Wilson Contreras is still a Cub at this moment, unless something else has happened? So, yeah, as far as I can tell, Wilson Contreras is still a Cub. So this is just so weird how Wilson Contreras, Ian Happ both gave each other those hugs on this is our last game we'll ever play at Wrigley Field. As far as we know, they're both there. So so we'll see what happens over the next few days. Michael Brantley, who knows what's going on with him? I don't know if they gave an update with him, but as far as we know, I don't think we can expect to see him too much this year. If he was going to come back, he would have probably already come back by now. But that's just my opinion. Maybe somebody else has a different opinion. But Dusty Baker did mention that Christian Vasquez and Trey Mancini both cover 25.6 feet per second when they sprint. And they ranked 426 and 428 respectively out of 503 players measured. So they offer more team speed to the Astros. And so that could be a plus for them. And Brett wants me to to tell y'all that he was right about Jason Castro being out for the rest of the year. And so he wants me to give him some kudos there, but and everything. So Jason Castro will be out for the rest of the year. So they needed to make this deal for Christian Vasquez. So we got 1 minute to see what goes on. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do make a trade for somebody like Ian Happ, if Chas McCormick is involved, something like that. I think that if you're Jeremy asked if it's Castro early retirement, I think he was going to retire anyway at the end of the year. So probably it's going to be early retirement. So, Harrison Bader is going to the Yankees in exchange for Jordan Montgomery. Okay. So Bader is actually on IL as far as I know, but I don't know if he's played too much against the Astros, but you know that this is just probably another way to kind of combat the Astros. And now we just kind of wait to see if the Astros did anything. As we watch Trey Mancini taking batting practice at Minute Maid Park, and I see Christian Vasquez right there, and he's talking to Joe Espada. No, that's Alex Cintron. And so all we can do at this point is sit and wait, see if there's anything else. Yes, so it's, we've kind of already talked about this. The last Pineapple says Noah Syndergaard to the Phillies, so we don't have to face them anymore. And then we have, yes, the trade deadline is technically over, but we'll see if anything happens. So I'll stay on for 10 minutes or so until anything else happens. But I just wanted to just see if anything happens. But I had a feeling that the Astros were done. I mean, they traded for 3 players. They upgraded 3 positions of need. Yes, center field was something of need. So if this is it, how do you feel? Go ahead and pretend like I'm a therapist. How do you feel right now? Go ahead and put that in chat. So somebody said there's some smoke of Jock Peterson in Houston. Whitfield, Merrifield got traded somewhere. Let's see where he got traded to. So like this is the part where we just wait to see for all the last minute trades. Therapy with Eric. So Sam says feeling good. Okay, that's good. Muhammad said I'm feeling optimistic. Matt says I'm feel good, but feel like something's still missing. Will Smith doesn't count. Okay, all right. Watch out. He may come up and slap you on at the Oscars. Billy Wayne says good overall, but don't love trading away Siri without getting a center fielder. I don't think that the Astros were giving Siri a chance here. And as long as Myers is here, I don't think they're going to give Siri a chance. So center field was Metal Maniac says center field was top need and Click failed, plain and simple, C-. Okay, yeah, I forgot about Lewis Brinson. Brinson's down there. I don't know how he's doing. We'll look at that for the podcast tonight. But Whit Merrifield went to the Jays. I wonder if is he going to get vaccinated? Because wasn't he one of those people who didn't want to get vaccinated? And Brett, if you want to jump back in, somebody needs to here's the deal phrase right now. So if you want to try to jump back in real quick. And here it is. Jeremy Richards says Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras are in the Cubs starting lineup. So that means that they were not traded. So there you go. So at least Ian Happ is not coming to Houston. And I don't think the Astros are going to trade for anybody else at this point. That's all. Yeah. So I'll wait a few more minutes, but I think that Ian Happ was probably the only person that the Astros were probably looking for. So Xavier says it's a D. We have to hope that Lance McCullers comes back. At this point, with Lance McCullers not necessarily back, I wonder if Hunter Brown gets a look at some point soon. We'll see what's going on. And then you have somebody said, wow, what are the Cubs doing? The Cubs are just I guess they were waiting for the big haul, and the big haul never came. And so they didn't want to give up their players without. I don't get it, because yeah, you'll get the draft picks, but still, you could have got multiple players for these guys, and so. Uh, so yes, the Astros could have used an outfielder, but at the same time, I think that the Astros, with the players they picked up, Merrifield can technically play left field, or you can have Alvarez play some outfit left field as well. I don't think we'll see Merrifield in center field. You're going to have Chas McCormick and Myers there. So I think the Astros are fine. I think that the Astros have upgraded at two positions. I just hope that the Astros don't, mostly Dusty Baker, doesn't just play Martin Maldonado all the time and has Vasquez just rotting on the bench. But as far as I know, that's all the trades. Y'all tell me if anything else happens. So, anything else? Rangers are not trading Matt Moore, according to Ken Rosenthal. Okay. So, yeah, that's one thing about Mancini is he has not played in the playoffs, but you know who has? Vasquez has played in the World Series, and he has won a World Series. So Larry GM says this may have been the Click's best 48 hours. I think that he has really upgraded the lineup. So thank you everybody for joining. I'm fine with what the Astros have done. They've upgraded 3 positions of needs. And yes, center fielder would be nice, but at the same time, you can't get everything you want. And even if we did, how much would have cost? And here's the official. Ken Rosenthal says the Cubs are not trading Contreras and Happ. Sources tell The Athletic. So there goes Ian Happ. So they're going to stay with the Cubs for whatever reason. Enjoy them, Cubs fans, because you're going to get a draft pick, and that's it. So guess that's it for this special edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Thank you, Brett, for joining us from the truck for a little bit. Sorry for your technology issues. And thank y'all for making the Locked On Astros your first listen every day. Thank you for tuning in for all the trade deadline coverage and continuing to subscribe to us. Go to YouTube. Just hit the subscribe button and give us a like while you're at it. And go ahead and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast, and go Astros.